It's funny how the world shifts when you take a step back from it, isn't it? I mean, I always thought I was in control, that I could handle the constant barrage of notifications, the endless scroll of social media, the flickering lights of screens that seemed to dictate my every moment. But then I decided to do this digital detox, a week without screens, and suddenly everything changed. I didn't realize how much I had been living in a bubble, a digital cocoon that wrapped around me so tightly I could hardly breathe. Day one was a shock to the system. I woke up, and the first thing I instinctively reached for was my phone. It lay there on the bedside table, that little rectangle of light that had become my lifeline. I picked it up, stared at the screen, and then I remembered. No screens. I dropped it back down, feeling a strange mix of anxiety and liberation. I had to face the day without my usual crutch. I brewed coffee, and as I waited for it to drip, I looked out the window. The sunlight poured in, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. I could hear birds chirping, a sound I hadn't really noticed in ages. I felt a flicker of something. Was it peace? I spent the morning reading a book, an actual book with pages that crinkled and smelled of ink and paper. I hadn't done that in so long. I lost myself in the story, the characters becoming real in a way that scrolling through a feed never could. I felt my mind expanding, my imagination igniting. But then, around noon, I felt a pang of withdrawal. I missed the quick dopamine hits of likes and comments. I missed the connection, the validation that came from sharing my life online. I had to remind myself that I was doing this for a reason, that I wanted to reconnect with the world in a more meaningful way. By day 3, I was starting to feel the effects. My mind was clearer, but my body was restless. I took long walks, feeling the ground beneath my feet, the wind on my face. I noticed the little things, the way the leaves rustled in the breeze, the laughter of children playing in the park, the smell of fresh-cut grass. It was as if I had been living in black and white, and suddenly someone had turned on the color. I felt alive, but there was also a nagging feeling in the back of my mind, a fear of missing out. What was happening online? What was everyone saying? I tried to push those thoughts away, to focus on the present. I started journaling, pouring my thoughts onto the page, and it felt cathartic. I wrote about my fears, my hopes, my dreams. I wrote about the things I had been avoiding, the conversations I had been too afraid to have. I realized how much I had been using screens as a shield, a way to hide from the messy, complicated reality of life. By day 5, I was in a rhythm. I had developed a routine that didn't involve screens. I cooked meals from scratch, experimenting with flavors and ingredients. I rediscovered the joy of creating something with my hands. I painted, I drew, I played music. I felt a surge of creativity that had been stifled for so long. I was connecting with myself in a way I hadn't in years. I felt stronger, both mentally and physically. My body was moving more, and I was eating better. I felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. But then came day 6, and the cravings hit hard. I found myself pacing the house, restless and agitated. I wanted to check my email, to scroll through social media, to see what everyone was up to. I felt the urge to reach for my phone, to dive back into that digital world. I had to remind myself of why I was doing this. I took a deep breath and went outside. I sat on the porch, closed my eyes, and listened. The world was alive around me, and I was a part of it. I felt the warmth of the sun on my skin, the cool breeze brushing against my face. I realized that I had been missing out on this, on life itself. On the final day, I woke up with a sense of accomplishment. I had made it through a week without screens. I felt different, transformed in some way. I brewed my coffee and sat outside watching the world wake up. I felt a sense of clarity, a newfound appreciation for the simplicity of life. I thought about how I wanted to move forward, how I could integrate this experience into my daily routine. I didn't want to go back to the way things were, to the mindless scrolling and the constant distractions. I spent the day reflecting, thinking about what I had learned. I realized that screens had become a way to escape, a way to avoid the discomfort of reality. But in stepping away, I had found a deeper connection to myself and to the world around me. I had learned to listen, to be present, to engage with life in a way that felt authentic. As the sun set on that final day, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I knew that I would reintroduce screens into my life, but I would do so with intention. I would set boundaries, prioritize real connections, and remember the beauty of the world beyond the screen. I had taken a leap into the unknown, and what I found was a richer, fuller life waiting for me.